Hey everybody, I have Kevin Calapway here. He's one of the up-and-coming entrepreneurs here, and he's been really successful trading Forex here. And what I like to do with all my interviews when I start them up, I always like to have whoever I'm interviewing kind of describe a little bit about themselves. So, Kevin, let the audience know, just kind of tell about yourself.
My name's Kevin Calapway. I'm a full-time Forex trader. I've been trading for about almost 3 years now.
Okay.
Like I said, I do this full-time. It's a tough game, I gotta say. Very, very steep learning curve. But I trade with a group of friends, and
Nice, yep.
I have a mentor as well who taught me how to trade. And we really kind of, even though everybody kind of trades their own sort of method or system, right? We all just kind of stick together in keeping up to date with what's kind of new, right? It's not something where you can just be on one thing and then just kind of sail on that. You got to keep up to date, really, because things are always changing in the market.
Oh, I think so, right? Yeah.
And what's required to be successful. It's constantly changing. So yeah, like I said, we just do this for a living, and it is kind of hard work sometimes because a lot of it is just patiently waiting, and it's different than physical labor. Like so, from other things that I've looked at before and how to be successful, it's like try as hard, right? Kind of strive for success, right?
Yeah.
The hardest worker gets paid the most, and that sort of thing, right? That whole performance mentality behind it, and that's why this kind of profession it attracts all different types of people from all different walks of life. People that have had successful businesses or successful sports, but then they get into trading, and sometimes they can't even make a go of it because it's kind of like the opposite. It's not where you have to work as hard. It's actually who can work as little as possible, but also be able to make as much returns as you can,
right?
without spending as much time.
No, understandable for sure. Right.
The harder that you work at it, it's kind of counterproductive because you feel like you need to work.
Right.
But in this, people say, well, what do you do, right?
Yeah.
I say, well, I trade. It's like, well, it's hard work, but is it really hard work, right?
Like in terms of physical, maybe not, right? Maybe on the mind it would be, I would think.
It's very, very hard.
On the mind, yeah.
On the mind, and especially when you get started, right?
Yeah.
So, we also have a group. It's called the 2% Club.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of new traders start off there. That's where I started.
Right.
And we just sort of, kind of keep in touch with what everybody's doing. Like I said, everybody does their own kind of unique thing because there's millions of ways to do it.
Right.
But we kind of stay as a kind of a tight community just to
help each other
because
out.
it is kind of a lonely thing. I mean, most of the time you're just kind of on your computer, just sitting here. It's a very lonely. It's not a glamorous profession, I would say. It's not a glamorous thing, right?
It definitely takes a lot of work. Yeah, for sure.
But for those that can do it, it's one of the most amazing things because you have a lot of free time.
For sure, right?
And you can travel anywhere in the world. So
yeah, I guess all you need is internet access, right? I mean, basically you just click it and there you go. You make $1,000 or whatever it happens to be an hour or something crazy like that,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned to me the 2% Club and all that, but what kind of made you kind of all start to get into this Forex trading field? Like you just wake up and say, oh, I want to do Forex. So how did that all came about?
Well, actually, I got into Forex out of frustration.
Oh, that's kind of odd. That's a weird way of doing it, yeah.
I got out of into kind of like being fed up and frustrated. I used to be in the financial field where we used to kind of market financial products like investments and tax savings, things like that. And it was kind of a gray area at the time where, there were some great investments out there, but, you really had to do your due diligence and figure out which companies were real and which weren't.
Oh, one of those, yeah.
Yeah, and so, while some were and some weren't, I got into a product that was a Forex product. Yeah. And they were promising 1% 1% a day. Right?
Yeah.
And it was kind of high, but when you looked at how Forex was, and if you can look how Forex, that's very achievable. There are people that do that.
Right.
Professionals that do 1% a day.
That's crazy, yeah.
Yeah, and that's crazy to especially the retail market, right?
Yeah.
Where the banks give them like what 3%, 4%
A year.
a year, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, we got into that, and that turned out to be a scam.
Yeah.
It turned out to be a whole Ponzi scheme. It was this massive Ponzi scheme that operated for, I think, 5 years.
Right. Wow.
So a lot of the smart money was duped too, because most of these scams they collapse on themselves within 2 years.
Okay.
This went on for 5 years, or 4 or 5 years. And anyways, that collapsed, and that was the kind of the final straw for me. I says, well, why doesn't somebody just do this for real? It's like, why bother scamming people and going through, trying to do it unethically, right?
Yeah.
When you're gonna get caught eventually.
Of course. Yeah.
Why not just do it proper? And if it did it proper, then it would grow like crazy, because it was growing like crazy.
Yeah.
I said, you know what? Forget about this whole investment world. I'm going to go and make my own returns.
Right.
So, I had a friend,
Yeah.
luckily, who was a very, very famous trader.
Yeah.
And he was very, very successful. Like, he told me one time he made, I think, 40, 50 grand overnight. And that was the time where I was like, oh, okay, show me this Forex thing, right?
Yeah.
Show me this Forex thing.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, sure, come over to my office, I'll show you. So he showed me the basics, and I just did like theory and reading and that sort of thing.
Right.
And before I know it, I was kind of just practicing, doing like demo trading.
Right.
They call it demo trading, right? You like make paper trades or practice electronic trades, but it's all fake money, right? Just
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Kind of get to see what it's like. If you can do that well, then you can move on to real trading with real money.
Yeah, of course.
So that's kind of where it all started. It was out of frustration, where I was like, I got so sick and tired of people trying to take advantage of people, just trying to get ahead in life, right?
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I was like, forget this. I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna do it myself.
Yeah.
Like, and then at least I know it's gonna be for real, because I won't scam myself, right?
Well, that's pretty good.
I know where my money is gonna be.
For sure.
The other thing too is that one thing I realized after I got into trading, but I didn't think about it at the time, is that I got into it because I didn't like the whole mathematics behind it. If you look at investments, the moment you give your money away to somebody, you're risking 100% of your capital. Right. Because the risk is you may or may not return it back to me. You can disappear somewhere. Your company can go under, and I can get nothing. And that's what we see with a lot of investments, right? So if you say, well, how much money did you put in? Oh, 20 grand. Well, how much did you get back? I lost it all, right? I'm like, okay, well then what was the company promising? 15, 20% return a year. Okay, so you're risking 15 to 20% of your capital. Sorry, 100% of your capital to get 15, 20% back. That's a very, very bad trade. Right? And that's also another reason why I got into trading, because then you can control how much, if you lose, okay, I'll give you back 1. But if I win, I'm going to take 1.5, or I'm going to take 2 or 3. Right. So that was just another thing that also what kept me into trading and out of kind of other financial investments. Right. Unless it was something I did on my own, where I buy a property. On my own. I just kind of got away from giving my money to other people.
But to manage it, right? You have all the control. Yeah,
I liked it because trading gave me the ability to take control of not only my finances, but my friends' finances, right?
Well, that makes sense,
my family's finances. So that's why I took it upon it. I knew it would have a tight learning curve too.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So a very, very long learning curve, but it was okay because I knew I only had to learn it once.
Yeah, for sure.
I only had to learn it once.
Well, you're right, because, the way you kind of put it, I guess, is almost like you're treating almost like a business, so to speak, right? It's kind of everything's under control, which is great, which is, I think, what a lot of entrepreneurs all have, right? Kind of a business mindset. But with what you kind of mentioned to me, too, then you must have had, when you first started, it must have been pretty tough, because, when you trade with real money, it's a lot, obviously, different. Your emotions get in the way and stuff, so I'm saying, like, what did you do to kind of help you with that? Because unless if you're losing, let's say it hurts a lot. You might do things you shouldn't have done.
They have a saying in the trading world. It's like, if you want to know if you got your head on, trade. Because if you don't, anything that is a hole in your toolbox, right? It's going to show up in your trading. Okay. Any fears you have, any doubts of just of mental concerns that you have, it's
Right.
just going to show up in your trading. Something as simple as fear of missing out,
Right.
or a fear of success.
Yeah.
Like these things, they will sabotage your trading.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So one of my fears, to give you an example, was the fear of missing out.
Right.
And so this is what I developed early on, is that, take advantage of opportunities. Don't miss out on opportunities, right? Take action on all the opportunities.
Yeah.
Right? This is what I was telling you, it's kind of a different world when you get into trading, right?
Right.
Because in trading you cannot think like that. You can't think like of missing opportunity.
Right.
Not only is that kind of a mental burden, and it gets very stressful. Like, for example, you'll start trading, and you'll sleep through a winner. Right?
Yeah.
You come back, and you look at the charts, and you say, "Oh, I missed this winner." You say, "Oh, that was 100 or 1,000 or whatever. How much money that could have been." Right?
Yeah.
And then when you are there to trade, you take a loser, and now you're like, "Oh man, if I just traded, right, and I got the winner, I'd be okay, right?"
Yeah.
And now that's now you're thinking like, "Oh man," and then that just builds up, right?
Right.
So I found myself really stressing about being on the charts all the time, taking every single trade.
Right.
And that was just, it doesn't sound like much even talking about it.
Yeah.
But when it's your real money, and you're like, you think about what could have been,
Yeah.
we all tend to do that, kind of look in the hindsight, right?
Yeah.
You look in the past, like, oh, I should have, I could have. Well, trading definitely can bring you that.
Yeah.
So if you have that fear of missing out,
Yeah.
or even fear of losing, that was the other thing I had.
Yeah.
And they're actually the most two common fears in trading that
Right.
sabotage people. Is the fear of losing, and that's if you don't want to be wrong.
Of course
right?
not. Yeah.
And people don't like generally being wrong, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest challenges was in my trading, is that I had to admit when I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I was never good at admitting I was wrong.
Yeah.
I got into also trading because I consider myself like a gamer, right?
Yeah.
I love hard games, right?
Yeah.
I've always, I kind of grew up with games.
Yeah.
And I thought Forex was just a very challenging game.
Yeah.
But the problem in games is that, in trading, is that it tells you when you're dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In trading, it doesn't. In a game, it will say, okay, this is it. You've lost, right?
Yeah.
It says game over. In trading, you have to admit you lost.
That's right.
Now, if you can imagine a world where people would have to admit that they were wrong or lost
Yeah.
before something ends, now it's become a completely different game.
Yeah.
Because people don't like to admit that.
Right. No, that makes sense.
It takes forever for some people, and some people never even get past it.
Yeah.
To get past this fear. So I had definitely had to read a lot of books, like psychology books.
Yeah.
I had to do a lot of soul searching and discovery.
Yeah.
And a lot of trial and error.
Right.
And a lot of painful lessons before I was able to fix the holes in my psychology to be able to trade
That makes
consistently.
sense. Consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a process that everybody has to go through.
No, definitely. Right.
That gets into trading.
Well, for sure. Okay, Kevin. I'm just gonna break this up at the interview a bit here. So I'm gonna go through part 2.
Sure.
Because there's more here.